I have to say that is exactly the kind of win I wanted the A's to have.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's, and I am your host. Sorry, there was a glitch that happened right there that kind of sort of distracted me. We're going live. We're going live, to paraphrase Bill O'Reilly. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and this is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm normally the host of Locked On MLB, and I still do 5 episodes of that a week. Sometimes I do 6 episodes a week, but I do 5 here as well. So you get at least 10 episodes with your pal Sully if you so choose. You can find us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your purchase. Okay, we're doing this one Thursday morning. There is going to be a game later on this afternoon and later today, or I guess maybe Friday morning. We're going to drop an episode where we review what happened in that game, and also Braden and the good folks over at Locked On Blue Jays are going to be a guest for the final segment of a show that we're going to do on tomorrow's, where we're going to preview the series between the Jays and the A's. But forget the Jays and the A's. Now we're doing the M's and the A's. And last night was fun. I wasn't actually sure if I was going to do an episode today, but when you had one of the most fun games of the year, and we're going to have some there's going to be some depressing moments that are going to happen this year. We all know that. We're all here. We're all alive. We know that. So when you have a fun game, why am I going to spoil that? And the fact of the matter is, Joey Estes came in and pitched like he was, it was the days of Tim Hudson. He was tremendous. One of the A's top 15 prospects came in and pitched obviously the best game of his minor league career so far. And this is just a wonderful thing. If the A's could squeeze another decent starting pitcher out of Joey Estes here, then all will be pretty good. And you know what? He was more than good. He took a perfect game into the 7th inning. Now, when Kotsay allowed him to come in and start the 7th inning, I love that that's now something we have to do. He was allowed to continue his perfect game. And he let up the double. And then he let him face the next batter. I was like, okay, good. Let him pitch out of stuff here. This was his 7th start, and it was his 2nd win overall. But for the 22-year-old Estes, it's what you would have wanted. He gave the A's 6 1/3 innings. He only made 78 pitches, which is one of the reasons why I thought that maybe he would go longer. I thought maybe he was going to let him go 90 pitches. But I can't criticize Kotsay of how he handled the bullpen, because in the end things went really well. Estes let up the double, and then Adams came in, he let up a walk, and you and I both thought, oh boy, here it comes. And McFarland got out of the jam, and then totally got into a jam himself, and in came Mason Miller. And again, I like this move by Kotsay. We'll get into some of the at-bats and everything like that, but Totally let up 2 straight singles, got Dylan Moore swinging, but up would come Crawford and Rojas. And the A's needed this win. And Mason Miller has been pitching that, has been pitching that much recently. And there was a sense of, they got to lock in the game here. Because if the A's lost that, then they're going into this afternoon's game as well. I hope we can avoid a sweep. And maybe Kotsay was like, hey, I've got this weapon, which now has people rumors that he is going to be, being traded. Let's use this weapon, because sometimes the save doesn't always happen in the ninth. I've talked about this on Locked On MLB for years and years. Too many managers were managing based upon what I call the tyranny of the save, which is they made managerial decisions based upon, well, I can't use my top reliever until it's the ninth inning. And then they use someone who's not a great reliever, and they wind up wetting the bed in the seventh or eighth inning, and things get out of control. Now, to be fair, when TJ McFarland came in the seventh inning, the inning where Estes, finally was relieved, and Adams walk hit by pitch, and then the bases were loaded and Mitch Garver was up, and McFarland got him to ground out. Now, I have to admit, I was really surprised that McFarland, who got out of that jam in the seventh inning and threw a whopping, 6 pitches, didn't come back out for the eighth. And Natoli did. But you know what? Kotsay hit all the right buttons. And, he brought in Miller, got the deep fly ball for Crawford, and then Rojas grounds out. Still 2-0. They get out of the jam. Of course, they can't tack on in the eighth, and Miller's still pitching there in the ninth. And then immediately on a 3-2 pitch, lets up the home run to Rodriguez. Okay. And then lets up the walk to Raleigh. And right then, I will admit this. I will admit that when he let up, not the solo homer to Rodriguez, I actually didn't care about that. I thought to myself, thank God he didn't let up the home run to Rodriguez when there were 2 runners on in the eighth, or for the bases loaded in the seventh. Solo home run, 2-0 game, fine. The walk to Raleigh got me mad, because both the home run and the walk to Raleigh were on 3-2 pitches. And we all thought for ice cream, we all thought that those were about to be a strikeout. And then when he walked Raleigh and France was going to come up, the tying run's on, France is coming up. And I had just seen earlier that day the Reds go on this 2-out ninth inning rally against the Rockies. I'm going like, oh man, this is going to suck. This is going to suck. But he got out France, and he got the double play on Victor Robles, so I didn't even know it was on the Mariners. I forgot that he got DFA'd by Washington. And they got the win. It was great to see Zach Geloff homer, and then he hit the big home run to give the A's the early lead. Then the A's got a gift run on the pass ball, but Geloff got a couple hits, got a stolen base. They couldn't tack on. But they did. They relied too much on the home run, of course. With the one real run that they drove in was the solo shot by Geloff, and the other was the gift. But what they did avoid was the big dumb inning. And as I said this, I've been saying this. Avoid the big dumb inning and don't rely so much on the home run, and the A's are going to probably win a bunch of games. Seattle, obviously they couldn't get anything going the first 6 innings, and then they wiggled out of trouble in the 7th and 8th. That's avoiding the big dumb inning. And so move forward from that. And as I hinted before, the victory last night was nice for another reason, and that is it kind of got the taste out of my mouth, because I was really, really, and did I mention, really bitter about what happened the night before, because I thought that was a game that was, well, I thought it was theirs. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than for 2 or more player stats with a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. And if you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has you get covered from week to week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesday, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. Well, we are recording this on a Thursday. The NBA Finals are starting up. The Celtics, the Mavericks. Let's take a look at what PrizePicks has to say there. They say Kyrie Irving is going to be over 33 and a third points. They say Brown of Boston is going to be under 28.4 points, and White is going to be over on terms of combining points and rebounds. White's going to be over 19.4. That's what they got going there. So those are going to be some of your PrizePicks there if you're looking at the NBA Finals, which starts tonight. And right now, you could win 100 times your money with baseball-only lineups on PrizePicks. If you submit a winning lineup featuring 4 demon squares, you'll cash in big time on the biggest moments early on in this baseball season. PrizePicks even offers injury insurance so that your lineups stay even if one of your players gets hurt. For baseball games, if you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or fewer, PrizePicks will have your back and not count that as a loss. So, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. Do you know what it is? It's that easy. Hey, where do you get your baseball and basketball and football and hockey and lacrosse, whatever your sport is? Where do you get your news? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you to bring you the biggest sports stories that are out there. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is indeed your team every day. Yeah, I didn't post a show yesterday, partly because I knew I had a couple things lined up. I also had done a show on Sunday, so it gave me a little bit of wiggle room. And the game on the Tuesday, the 4th, just made me a little angry. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it was a well-played game in many respects. Blade got on base 3 times. Spence did not pitch badly. He pitched 6 innings, gave him some innings. They didn't have to wear out the bullpen, thank goodness, because they needed them the next day. And Kirby pitched fine for Seattle. He struck out 9 in 5 innings, but he let up a bunch of hits, and the A's had a bunch of chances. But this was a game where, as I said, avoid that one big inning, and that 3rd inning where Spence let up, count them, 4 doubles, 4 freaking doubles in 1 inning, and the Mariners put up a 3-0 spot at that point. And then the A's did a good job of chipping away, and they got, Toro got a single to drive in a run in the 3rd, and then there was a single and double. They had 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out in the 6th. Langeliers, Brown, and Davis and Geloff all coming up, and they squeezed 1 run out of that inning. That should have been the game. That should have been at least 2. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Get both of them in. Make it a 1-run game. Instead, it was they got 1 in because Langeliers got a grounder that scored Blade, and eventually Brown walked, but then nothing. They didn't get piddly poo. And then what? The A's wiggled out of trouble in the 8th, but they get 2 runners on in the 8th inning. They don't score any of them. And then you have the 9th where they got a single, wild pitch, walk. And they got one damn run out of that. And they got the run on a wild pitch where Munoz winds up hurting his foot and Bleday walks, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, look at this. A base hit will tie the game. A double would win the game. Ground ball. Brent Rooker at the plate. Brent Rooker at the freaking plate against a guy who came out of the bullpen as a injury replacement. A single would win the GD game by Rooker. Doesn't have to be a home run into the Mount Davis. Just a hit. Something. And the only run they got out of that whole rally where the closer, I don't wish injury on anybody, but when your closer is out, they have to bring in someone who is in the bullpen reading Bazooka Joe chewing gum wrappers comics. Boy, I dated myself with that reference. And he comes in and he gets a walk, and then you have a chance to get that tying run in with a base hit. Blunk. They just kept turning these opportunities into, well, we got one run out of it. We got one run out of it. Meanwhile, the Mariners get that one inning. Double. Okay, 4 of them. That was avoiding the bad inning. And they didn't for that one. And how many of those rallies where, how many solo home runs have I seen? And then you get 2 on, you can't get something out in there. I just kept getting the sense all this team needed to get was a couple of hits here or there. They would have had that first game of the series. That's why that's so important. The whole tone of the series is different when they win game 1. They got a chance to go for the sweep today. Now they can go for the win, to be sure. But it's frustrating because that was a game they could have won. That was a game where they had opportunities to win. That was a game that freaking Kirby, who is one of the best pitchers in the American League this year, struck out a whole bunch. But what happens, in the 4th inning? They load the bases. Nothing. They got 0 runs out of that. It can be very frustrating. Hey, I got some in the comment section. Jesus M says, I'd rather have Spence and Estes than Wood and Stripling. Yeah, probably me too. What I'd love to do is see Wood and Stripling start to pitch more effectively, or maybe use them as a long man. I don't know. But hey, here's one of the things about the A's that in a way is kind of frustrating, because when you look at the fact, obviously they have good pitchers in their bullpen, especially if and when Ursa comes back from the injured list. I keep wanting to call it the disabled list. But, if you look up and you have, if Spence continues to pitch pretty well, and if Estes pitches well, you take a look, Stripling's on the IL, Blackburn's on the IL, Wood's on the IL. I'm not expecting anything back from him. But, if Spence continues to pitch well, and Estes, and you know what? I'll say it, the way Hogan Harris has pitched, including his great long relief recently, give him the ball. You're going to get decent, innings out of the bullpen. But Carlos Vargas points it out. We still can't hit when it matters. Yeah. You get the bases loaded, someone's got to get a hit. Got to get those 2-out RBIs, because that's a stab in the heart for the other team. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because you see that they have a chance to steal some of these games. You see that there's an opportunity to, take someone out the knees and break their heart. And instead you walk away going, the only way they score some of those runs are by wild pitches. Miller saved us. Yeah, he saved, but McFarland did too. Don't discount. McFarland got him out of that jam in the 7th. This would have been a Estes took a perfect game into the seventh, but the A's bullpen blew it. That could have been the narrative of the game, and it wasn't. So thank goodness for that. And it's good to talk about a good game because you saw what happened in the game yesterday. That's a positive thing. Come back. I want to talk about the fact that is the honeymoon already over in Vegas while they're still playing in Oakland? I need to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time because I'm going to go to a bunch of games. I'll go to games in Oakland. I'm going to go to games in Los Angeles. I'm going to go to games in uh, San Francisco. I may even go down to San Diego. And I want to make sure the tickets I get are what I want. As I mentioned, I have a specific place where I like to sit. I like to sit in the second deck, not the top deck, not the bottom deck. The second deck, behind home plate, a little bit on the first base side. I like to be a little bit above the game and view it from that angle. And with Game Time, I get to get the tickets that I always want. It's an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, and Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from the seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Now, they have zone deals. I mentioned I have an area where I like to sit. So what I do is I choose a section, and Game Time gets me the best deal. And you get the seat views. You get the panoramic view. So you say, hey, that's where I want to sit, right there. The lowest price is guaranteed. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better deal. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. They're guaranteed. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every game. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. Hey, who else is in the live stream right now? Too bad the Angels, not the Angles. Unless you're talking about the Angles and the outfield that they won because they jut out and we could have had a homer or something like that. But I have a feeling you mean the Angels, Angels. Don't mean to correct you, Carlos Vargas. Remember, I am a teacher, so you can't stop that. Hey, all right, someone's got to explain something to me because the A's haven't even moved yet. There's still the Oakland A's. They still have more than half a season in Oakland. And already look at the whole move to, I have to call it the supposed move to Las Vegas because, and I'm going to cover this a little bit. I have an upcoming episode where I address one of my listeners / critics who thinks that this is maybe a little overly biased towards Oakland and everything. I'm going to address some of his thoughts and concerns about how I've been doing this podcast. But we still have to call it the supposed move to Vegas because they don't have the money. They don't really have a stadium designed. There's those weird renderings we saw a few months ago that are, not that detailed. And do we really know the location? Is that where it's going? And there's things that are not certain, and of course the cost of it. That's going to be $1 billion or whatever it is. It's like it always goes more. It always goes more. You don't have the money now, and Vegas could very well look at this whole mess and go, "Is this guy we want to do business with? Is this guy we want to have do this in our backyard?" Or should we just wait for the inevitable expansion that's going to happen in baseball, which I think is more likely? I still don't think Vegas is a very good baseball city, but I do understand there are some money things they can make in Vegas. But if I were Vegas, why would I want Fisher's team? I want to do business with this guy. Anyway, all that being said, the Las Vegas Independent had an article. Howard Stotz was the author. So for anyone who has accused me of only reading Bay Area biased media, this is from the Las Vegas Independent, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and say is not a Bay Area paper. And this is quoting from that article. The Oakland Athletics are requesting to play up to 8 home games a season away from the supposed $1.5 billion ballpark. Okay? So they want to have sort of neutral places where they play the game. Like if they would have the game in Mexico City or the game in Korea like it was earlier this year, the London game. But they may want to do as many as 8 of those a year. Not a one series, 8 times to not play. That the A's are looking at Las Vegas and say, well, about 10% of the games we want to be not here. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, again, I'm going to read again from the article here. The request to play more than a half dozen home games away from Las Vegas is contained within the team's 37-page proposed 30-year non-relocation agreement, and is at least double the amount of negotiated neutral site home games agreed to by other Major League Baseball franchises. David Covell, the A's president, has said that he wants to do that to help build the team's brand and promote the club and attract players and sponsors. What the hell does that even mean? Improve their brand? First of all, they're a Major League Baseball team that's been around since 1901. Well, they've been Philadelphia, Kansas City, Oakland, or God knows where. So this notion of, well, what is this A's you're speaking of? If you're a sports fan, you know who the freaking A's are, okay? How is that going to get players to sign on? Hey, do I want to sign with one of the owners who has one of the worst reputations in baseball, extraordinarily cheap, ran a franchise into the ground intentionally, and now wants to make sure that almost 10% of my home games are on the road? You know how you attract free agents? It's very simple. Hi, I'm a team owner. How much do you want? I want X. Here is X. That's how you get them. Okay? Juan Soto would sign with the Spokane Indians if they offered him the most amount of money. He would sign with the Long Island Ducks, the independent Long Island Ducks. He would be, Juan Soto, you mark this down, would be a Savannah Banana if the Savannah Bananas offered him the most amount of money. These are not opinions. These are facts. Players go to where they make the most money, as they should. Well, we want to attract free agents and players. Then offer more money. And don't have the reputation of being one of the cheapest and greediest organizations in baseball, which they are. And it's whether or not there are reasons for this, whether or not there are actual reasons for this, it's a bad look to be like, hey, so we want to move here. Any chance we can, not be here so much? Imagine if you're doing a job interview. They're about to hire you and say, hey, by the way, is there a way I can take a lot of days off? Isn't this supposed to be the honeymoon period? Not the, hey, we're writing our marriage vows. You're about to have the wedding, and you're already whispering, hey, can we see other people? This Vegas move, every time I think it can't get stupider, it gets stupider. As Carlos Vargas says, still believe that in the end he will sell the team and will end up in Oakland. A man can dream. Yes, Carlos, a man can dream. And I had a dream yesterday that I was riding a unicorn over a gigantic ice cream spoon that dipped above the skyline of San Francisco. And I think that is more likely to happen than the A's playing here next year. But you're right. A man can dream, Carlos Vargas. And I can dream of doing more of these every day. I'm going to have another episode dropping either late tonight or early tomorrow morning, where we're going to break down the game this afternoon with the Mariners and Seattle. And we'll do a preview of the Toronto series for this weekend. And coming up on Monday, we're going to have an episode where I break down how the Raiders and their influence over Oakland basically destroyed the Oakland A's. Plus, I'm going to be breaking down some of the, some point next week, I'm going to be breaking down some of the criticisms of this podcast and addressing one of our everyday listeners. And I'll probably also do, and this may be painful, A's fans, but doing the innings that may have changed A's history. In other words, the innings that if it led to a World Series championship, who knows, maybe this A's situation would be a little bit different. But follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Breaking down a great game, breaking down a frustrating game, and scratching your head over what the hell is going on. This has been Locked On A's. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Check your spelling, everybody. Thanks for listening, Carlos, and all of you in the chat. My name is Sully.